In this video, we are going to be looking at how to make these simple, quick mushroom beads. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to see more stuff like this. So I've prepared a little diagram first really quick to go through. So once you have your gather, you only want to heat the first half, like the bottom half of it, so that it's nice and soupy, and there's a cold spot for when you plunge this stringer in there. You're gonna hit this cold spot and it's gonna pool around itself naturally, just making the mushroom shape all on its own. It's really that simple. After you do that, you're gonna cut off the stringer and kind of melt the rest of the air out, because sometimes the stringer in the stem is always going to trap some air. After you get all that air out, you're going to attach a handle to it so you can go in towards the top of your other side and stretch down a little bit of a clear stringer to do a veil. It's not really going to be a thin stringer, it's kind of thicker, but not as thick as the rod that I use to make the mushroom. You're going to cut it off to size, an appropriate size, and you're just going to heat up one side of it. And not really spinning it, but I just heat up one side enough to where it starts to droop down on itself and curve over. And eventually you can use heat and gravity, or you can use a pair of tweezers to kind of grab it and pinch it around and push it back on itself and clean that veil up to where it's a nice little loop. So I think I got some 16 mil clear rod here that I'm just going to clean up the edge real quick, that cut edge, because I don't want any scuzz. I want it to be optically clean. People are going to be looking into that glass, so I'm going to get all that scuzzy stuff off the edge real quick. After I got it hot enough to where I think the scuzzy parts are going to move, I'll go in with another rod and just wipe it off. Once that's all clean, I'm going to round off the edge and set that to the side so I can get to pulling my stringer, which is the other component you're going to need for this. I got a color rod there. I think it's either Blue Moon or Blue Caramel. I can't quite remember, but they're both similar to me. So whenever the way it strikes up in the implosion of the mushroom, I feel like it looks really cool, almost a little realistic. So I'm heating up just one end of that color rod, and I'm going to heat up a clear rod too so I can attach it, and I'm going to use that as my handle. Now I'm gonna heat up the other end. I'm gonna turn on the bottom flame and start kind of preheating the rod a little bit before I even go in and grab it with my other handle. Now I'm gonna kind of go through one time really slowly while spinning and get a core heat on there. Once I got that core heat and go back through the middle and back to where I started again, I'm going to go back and forth, spinning kind of rather slowly. And you see the color rod starting to kind of look like a wet noodle there, just bending around. That's the time when you pull it out, let it wait a second, then you start stretching. If you do it correctly and you had the correct heat, it should come out all even like this. But then I'm going to pull another stringer here, just to kind of show that you can still rock it back and forth like I was doing without that preheat, but you'll see that it's a little bit uneven. And it's not really the end of the world. It's something you can fix as long as you pay attention. instead of doing that little preheat, I just go right into rocking this one back and forth. It still gets it hot, but it doesn't get it too evenly hot, so you can end up with little parts of like thicker spots or spots that are hotter, so it pulls a little bit thinner really quick. And if you wait a second and then continue pulling, you can kind of even that out. Right here, I give it a really good stretch, and it kind of evens it out to the rest of the pull. I'm going to chop those off with the nipper ends of my pliers, and I'm going to go back into the 16 mil clear rod that I prepped earlier. I'm going to start heating the tip up, and then once I get it to the temperature I want, you see how I cock it down, and I got that angle on it, and down there in the bottom corner you can see how much of an angle I'm actually holding it, trying to get it to back up on itself. I'm not really heating the end of the rod here as much as like the shoulder, where it's kind of falling into itself and building up upon itself. Once I've got it to about the size that I want, instead of going in on the shoulder, now I'm going to switch and start heating up the end, just like I was showing in the little diagram at the beginning of the video. So I'm only heating up about half of this gather that I just pulled. I want to give it a little time to cool towards the handle and in the middle, so it can stop and pool this color. So I pre-warmed the rod there, and then I try to push on center, pull it out of the flame after I've already inserted it, and I keep pushing and doing like little quarter turn push, and it's gonna naturally want to just form a mushroom. I don't cut off very deep in the I want to leave some hanging out because the clear is going to droop down and meet it, and if you cut it off too thin, the stem, you're not going to have a stem. So you can see there's the mushroom, you can see it glowing. Now once again, I'm going in on the shoulder, kind of like I was doing when I was initially building the gather, because I want to get a little bit more clear on top of that mushroom. And then I'm going to start working from the cap going down the stem, so that I don't close the end off and trap the air that's inevitably probably going to be a little bit of an air bubble around the stem that you need to push out. And now I'm applying a lot of heat there at the bottom to get everything to kind of even and level out. And so as the clear starts to cool, you're going to see the color stays warm a little bit longer there, and you can see the mushroom after it's been fully encased. There's no air bubble in the stem. And it's got a nice little cap on there too. So now that this is done, I'm going to let that cool down just slightly while I start to heat up where I'm going to put the bail. And I, in the other hand, have a rod that I'm going to use as my handle and cold seal to the bottom. And now, just kind of like how I pulled those color stringers, I'm going to pull this clear stringer. I'm going to keep heating a little bit further than where I'm stretching so I can keep giving it more material to stretch. Instead of stretching thinner, I want it to stretch long and kind of thick still. Now I've got pretty much the length that I want, a little bit longer. I cut it off. I'm going to go in with a punty and clean up and shorten this a little bit to get it to the length that I want. Now I'm just really heating up the one side. Sometimes I might flip over and do the exact opposite side, but I'm never spinning. I'm not heating up all sides. I'm only heating up 1 to 2 sides max. You see there, I kind of keep it straight on the flame point and rock it back and forth to get the whole length. And I'm going to grab my tweezers here, kind of pinch it up and put it into the spot that I want. And now I'm just going to go in with my flame and a reamer to clean it up and get it positioned and sized appropriately. Whenever you're reaming like this, you want to do the same thing to both sides. So you'll see I'll ream one side, then ream the other, then I might straighten it out with a final ream. But I'm never just doing one ream. More than likely I'm doing at least pairs to keep everything even. Otherwise it'll start to drift to one side or the other. Applying a lot of heat where it connected there, because I kind of want that seam to disappear. I like it when you can't see how I did it. Now that I've got it pretty much how I want it, I'm going to show it off to you guys real quick. You can see how I like that color. It's got like a fleshy stem and like a bluish cap. You see it's like a nice deep cap there too. Flame and anneal it real quick because I actually bench cooled these. I used to, when I was first learning, I used to just throw them in vermiculite. I bench cooled these once so I could pop some photographs real quick, and I'll just toss them in the kiln the next time that I ramp it up to do something. I cracked it off the cold seal handle there, and I flame polished that bottom. And that's basically it. So we're going to go through and I'll let you guys see me doing a second one. Just repeating the same steps I did for that first one.